Their last game, a loss against Phoenix. These are the back-to-back plays she was involved in on the offensive end. Created a lot of conversation over the past week. Clark would continue playing the rest of the second quarter and then would leave the middle of the third quarter with a back end.
The biggest star in the WNBA is staggering off the court, clutching her side, her face twisted in agony after dropping dimes and draining logo threes. Not once, not twice, but 4 times this season alone. Every time, the Indiana Fever rejected it as a small change. They say it's normal, just a little uncomfortable. But now her own doctor is in charge. And everything could change as a result of what he's saying. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the content. It may surprise you to learn that almost 83% of viewers have not yet subscribed. Even though it only takes a second and is free, it means the world to us. Have you already subscribed? Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your help. Now, back to the video, because the actual tale of Caitlin Clark's injuries isn't just about one superstar's agony. It concerns what is being concealed, who is being repressed, and why the WNBA may be in danger of losing its biggest asset. Let's dissect it now. A dangerous trend. By the time Clark hobbled off the floor during the violent Fever Sun game, fans were already accustomed to the ritual. A hard fall, a hard screen, and then the limp once more. But at the time, no one knew how serious this injury rabbit hole was. It wasn't just a strained groin. It was the 4th lower body injury in the last 2 months. Left groin, left quad, same story, different side, right groin. These days, experts call it a textbook compensating injury pattern, when a single injury prompts the body to slightly overcompensate, which strains another area. It's like playing whack-a-mole with pain, and the more you ignore it, the worse it gets. Despite this, the Fever insisted that she was fine, just a little stiff. Teams want to keep things internal, which is why they lie on a daily basis. This is where the warning signs begin to accumulate. The severity of Caitlin's injuries is far from normal, according to a number of orthopedic physicians who are not included. At the very least, we are discussing week to week, and only if she receives complete rest, care, and recovery. Rather, she is making promotional appearances for a league that is clearly earning money off of her fame without protecting the body behind it, flying cross-country and playing for longer than 30 minutes. It has started to be referred to as exploitation by certain fans. Way the body broke down. This is actually what goes on behind the scenes. Clark reportedly gained a lot of muscle bulk before the season, probably in an effort to get ready for the more demanding professional game. However, even though bulking up promotes strength and durability, improper integration also alters biomechanics. She employed somewhat different shooting techniques. A small alteration in her movement patterns disturbed her regular gating. The WNBA schedule is challenging because defensive pressure, back-to-back games, and little downtime. The result was a body that had been overextended, forced to compensate after each injury until it ultimately fails. The game in Connecticut was the breaking point. And that's exactly what happened when the Fever played the Connecticut Sun. She didn't just get up slowly. It was her response. She flinched. She sought to run it off. With her hands on her knees, she bowed. But the most telling feature is the weeping. Normally composed on the court, Clark sobbed while sitting on the bench. It wasn't just physical suffering. That was complete emotional exhaustion, anxiety, and frustration. The league, however, characterized it as mild pain. Just envision LeBron doing it during his rookie campaign. Do you think the NBA would downplay it? Simply losing faith in the group. People close to Clark's squad have now confirmed what many fans had suspected. She is no longer solely reliant on the Indiana Fever's medical staff. Because the confidence has been betrayed at this point, she is bringing in outside experts, including biomechanical evaluators, advisors for regenerative treatment, and NBA-level specialists. Can you really blame her? When your team treats a string of cascading injuries as if they were minor bruises, their priorities change from basketball to self-preservation. Missing games is not the issue here. It has to do with safeguarding a career. Introducing advanced treatments. What comes next, then? To stabilize her recovery, Clark's doctors are reportedly considering a range of state-of-the-art regeneration procedures. We are discussing biomechanical retraining as a means of preventing brain harm by addressing the imbalances that first caused it. hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatments to reduce inflammation and improve circulation, as well as stem cell therapy to hasten the mending of injured muscle fibers. Healing is not the only goal here. Before things spiral out of control, her body needs to be reset. However, the Indiana Fever Group has made no reference to these procedures. They continue to serve fans on a daily basis. People are starting to wake up. Fans are not stupid. They observe what is going on. People note each time Clark hobbles down the floor, grabs her hip, or vanishes from the bench during timeouts. More importantly, they are already furious. The hashtags are popular. Hashtag protect Caitlin, hashtag feverfail, hashtag not day-to-day concerns have been quietly expressed by her own family, and other players have started to voice their dissatisfaction with the way the league either protects or fails to safeguard its stars. The subject at hand concerns athlete empowerment rather than whether something needs to change. Let's take a closer look. What we're seeing with Caitlin Clark is a part of a broader trend in professional sports where top players are no longer merely paying attention to team physicians. They're employing their own, managing their bodies, and speaking up when something doesn't seem right. This isn't about loyalty to a jersey, after all. It has to do with getting by at work. Because someone else didn't take her injury seriously, Clark didn't fight her way to the top only to watch it fall apart. Regaining control may be the smartest decision she has made in her professional life to far. The consequences for this is the WNBA. For the league, this is a turning point. If Caitlin Clark is to serve as the public face of the WNBA must do the one thing they failed at if they want the TV deals, packed arenas, and sold-out merchandise. Thus far, protect her. This means that hazardous plays will be enforced more strictly. It leads to better travel conditions. It entails openness to the public regarding medical assessments. Indeed, when teams behave poorly, it may be necessary to intervene. Injuries. Because stars won't stay in the league if it can't prove that it cares about them. There will be a return, but it will be on her terms. This is the optimistic part. Clark isn't done yet. Not at all. Because she now knows exactly who is supporting her and what she needs to do to keep herself safe. In the long run, this injury narrative may be the best thing that has ever happened to her. She'll doze off. She will recover. She'll come back stronger. She was informed that she was day-to-day, but that won't be the case. Her choice to properly heal will be the cause of it. We have found this. Caitlin Clark is more than competing on the court with defenders. On the basis of it, she is battling an entire system. One that is all too willing to overlook injury indicators until it is too late, quick to profit, and slow to adapt. She is no longer cooperating, though. With outside doctors, state-of-the-art therapies, and a new outlook on her health, Clark is choosing a different path. One that doesn't need permission. One who, in the face of weak reality, refuses to accept daily existence. And one that could set a new benchmark for female athletes' empowerment. If that's one thing we already know, you don't bet against Caitlin Clark. In sports, there's a proverb that goes, "Pain is fleeting, pride is eternal." But pride isn't healing Caitlin Clark's groin. Ice baths aren't fixing the structural defects in her surroundings. Additionally, Rain Jury's cycle has been spinning like a rigged carousel since the start of her freshman season, and no motivational quote will stop it. This isn't merely a physical breakdown. Because Caitlin Clark has turned into a lightning rod, it's a cultural one. Not only do the defenders want to wear her out, but the WNBA and the Indiana Fever have attempted to handle the face of their league by taking every shortcut, outdated method, and failure. She's finished waiting now. The look of recovery. This is the part they don't want you to see. In addition to missing full scrimmages due to morning warm-ups and enigmatic game-time decision labels, Clark has been limping during workouts and wincing during lateral drills. Anyone who is paying attention can see that she isn't totally devoted, even if she has been going through the motions. Not even close. She can jog up the court without falling when the Fever says she's getting better. That is not advancement. That is desperation. Additionally, because her style of play relies on quickness, angles, and quick decisions, running is a death sentence.
Pain was the real price of playing.
To be clear, most athletes experience discomfort during a competition. The work is that. What distinguishes the wise from the cautionary tales is their ability to know when to say no. Clark said yes far too frequently. The answer is yes to carrying on with the game after the first groin pull. Ramping up for back-to-backs with no rest days is okay. Yes, the tight muscles and aching joints from attending media appearances and advertising events. She provided the WNBA with everything and more. But she needed time, care, and a realistic medical plan.
Silent.
She is now footing the bill. Inadequate assistance for veterans. Music, the fact that so few veterans have openly defended Clark is one of the most shocking aspects of her injury story. Where are the women's elder states? Voices within the league? Gamers who have lived with this reality for years are protesting together. There is a slight divide in the league between the old guard, who had a grind without widespread recognition, and the new stars, like Clark, who arrived with instant fame and major endorsements. One of the reasons Clark's situation has become so isolating is because of the actual burden. No coordinated athlete should be acknowledged like the generational great she is, notwithstanding the occasional encouraging tweet or murmur. And perhaps it is part of the issue. Being Caitlin Clark is a business. The Fever are in charge of a brand, not just a player. Caitlin Clark jerseys fly off shelves. SportsCenter is dominated by her highlights. She anchors broadcast deals, fills arenas, and sells tickets. Consequently, when the face of your franchise says, "I'm not feeling right," you don't think of it as a medical issue. You view it as a marketing emergency. How do you market a product if your star isn't on the court? This strain affects coaches, trainers, and public relations staff who are suddenly forced to spin injury reports like press releases. Thus, supporters experience mild discomfort rather than a clear injury schedule. Clark receives controlled minutes rather than a break. She receives guarantees rather than rest. Everyone is breathing in the smoke and mirror fumes. Fans are starting to reconsider. This is the challenging part. Clark entered the league with more goodwill than most athletes have in a decade. However, the injury problem, on-court stress, and mysterious updates have led to impatience. Some fans are starting to question whether she is being pampered. Why doesn't she keep going? Why does everything around her seem to be a story? That is the outcome of a breakdown in openness. People begin using their own stories to fill in the gaps. However, Clark isn't actually weak. She's exhausted. She isn't ducking games. She's getting drawn into them before she's ready. And the league hasn't done its job if fans aren't able to perceive that. The Indiana Fever are a team at a turning point in their history. This season was supposed to be crucial. It was anticipated that Caitlin Clark's arrival would usher in a new age. Sales of tickets, national recognition, and ultimately moving up from the bottom of the standings. But instead of building around her, they built on top of her. They put her in charge of a team that lacked a backup plan, an experienced leadership structure, and a suspension policy to protect their star. Her side projects are expanding behind the scenes, so the organization must now make a choice. Do they publicly commit to a long-term plan that prioritizes genuine team building, sustainability, and well-being, or do they intensify the daily charade? First, so far, they've chosen to remain silent, and silence seldom wins titles. The playbook. Proceeding. There aren't many plays left in Caitlin Clark's book if she truly wants to control her future.
Go dark 1. Close it down.
Half-speed returns do not exist. No time constraints that compel media pylons and give the impression that she is inept. Let the groin heal fully. Second, take charge of the narrative. Start communicating via her own channels rather than the team or league-approved messaging. Her platform is enormous. She is powerful. To affect the story, she ought to support medical autonomy as well. If she isn't already, she must have total discretion over who oversees her rehabilitation. This is no longer college. She is an expert. The leading experts in the world should support her. 4. Reevaluate the future of Indiana. This is a real part, even though it's uncomfortable. The rookie contract doesn't last forever. If the Fever continue to treat her more like a mascot than an essential element, many other teams will be ready to build a real empire around her. What the league must do. The WNBA now has a duty in this regard as well. Because it's not just an Indiana issue if Caitlin Clark burns out too soon as a result of poor management. That's a league-wide tragedy. They must intervene and establish procedures for player protection. They must review the medical standards of the team. Above all, instead of just branding their stars, they need to help them. Although the league likes to use Clark's picture on billboards and bumpers, it's time to show up when it matters. Despite not asking to save the WNBA, Caitlin Clark's talent made her a symbol of hope, transformation, and the best in women's basketball. She now stands for something different. A warning story that serves as a reminder that even the most successful people can experience burnout if those around them don't understand that a human body lies behind the numbers. And shoe sales. One that bleeds, bends, and breaks like any other. This is not just a story about a comeback. It acts as a caution. Clark is no longer merely a participant in the fever. Therefore, if the WNBA wants to avoid a problem, it must start paying attention. She is giving a performance for all young ladies who want to climb to the top without being broken. When Caitlin Clark exited the court during that game against Connecticut, obviously in pain, it wasn't just a medical problem. It was a pivotal moment. Missed All-Star games and increasing injuries were no longer the only problems, and what had been a long-building storm of friction between her, the Indiana fever, and the larger WNBA ecosystem erupted into a full-fledged crisis. Now, authority, legitimacy, and a single person's health determined the fate of an entire league. A star on the sidelines is a league on the brink of collapse. To be honest, Caitlin Clark's absence from the All-Star weekend wasn't only upsetting. It was catastrophic from a marketing standpoint. Ticket revenue, brand partnerships, and primetime ratings were all based on her presence. Networks banked on her. She garnered a lot of admirers. Sponsors printed her image on goods. After that, it vanished. Some vague comments about tightness. Caitlin's forced smile during media day and a few cryptic phrases in a news release said it all. "I'm all right." It wasn't only a disappointment. It was a surprise because it made one thing very clear. Caitlin Clark is enduring far more than she should have to because the WNBA has constructed a tower on a shaky foundation. The league's public relations barrier is starting to fall apart. For months, team representatives and league executives have been trying to gird themselves with a broad sense of optimism. Every week, the recycling terms remain the same. "We are monitoring the situation. She's improving. Although she is a rival, fans are no longer purchasing from her. The facade is falling apart. Social media usage is increasing. Every time Clark limps, strands that appear in every film of her recoiling while playing are analyzed. Each time a coach minimized her pain, as if it were merely a slight stiffness. Actually, significant wear and tear, abuse, and muscular imbalances were the cause of that slight soreness. The kind that doesn't disappear with Gatorade and tape. What's more, the longer the league attempts to downplay it, the more credibility they lose. There are whispers in the locker room. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere in the Fever locker room has shifted. It was initially thrilling to be a part of the most awaited rookie since Diana Tauras's franchise comeback, but it has since become more nerve-wracking. Defeat does not just annoy veterans. One player is constantly the focus of attention, which irritates them. There are unspoken grievances concerning medical partiality, touches, and rotations, even when the player is genuinely leading the team. Several players allegedly believe that the entire organization is going above and beyond for Caitlin, despite the team's struggles to remain above 0-50. Ironically, though, Caitlin feels deserted at the most crucial moment. It's not jealousy, but misalignment. A star of this kind requires the creation of an ecosystem in the front office, the training room, the public relations strategy, and even on the court. Right now, that system is failing. What Indiana should have done immediately, if this had been a different team or conference. This is how things would have transpired. Caitlin was instantly put down for 2 to 3 weeks after pulling her groin. At any costs, top-tier specialists are flown in. A customized recovery plan is developed in addition to treating the injury to prevent further damage. In the meantime, the crew unites to support her while she is away. Coaching methods evolve. The task has been rearranged. PR portrays the injuries as part of a long-term strategy. That wasn't done by Indiana. Instead, Clark was back on the ground before she could blink. Restrictions on minutes were varied. Health updates were unclear. Additionally, every time a coach attended to a play, The camera panned to her pretending as if nothing was wrong. That is not a cause for concern. That is damage control. The camp of Clark is shifting. If you think Caitlin is just waiting this out, you better think twice. Her team, agents, trainers, and even close advisors from her time in Iowa are gradually but forcefully taking back control. Aside from the Fever staff, there are rumors that they have started putting together a medical team. They are aiming for sports science programs that are typically only available to elite NBA players. They are reaching out to sleep coaches, orthopedic doctors, and even Olympic sprinter biomechanic consultants. This player has more goals than just finishing the season. This is an athlete of franchise level getting set to outlive the mayhem in her immediate environment. Music, and that's what scares Indiana because when a player this valuable starts alienating herself from the team that drafted her, it's a red flag. Not just for her current squad, but for any team in the league wanting to sign her when her rookie deal expires. Since everyone already knows this secret, let's talk about 2026. Caitlin Clark will leave Indiana if they don't resolve this immediately. It won't be personal. It won't even be dramatic. It will be strategic. She will join a team that prioritizes players and has established stars who want to play alongside her rather than around her. A group of medical professionals who use state-of-the-art recovery methods. A city that values her both on and off the court. And you know what? Teams are already making ready for that possibility. Do you think the Liberty haven't had internal discussions about future cap space? Do you really think the Aces wouldn't swiftly reorganize their roster to create space? You would assume Nike wouldn't quietly urge Clark to join a wider audience considering that she reportedly appeared on a multi-million-dollar endorsement song. This is not hypothetical. Rather, it is certain unless Indiana awakens. Let's zoom out to see what this means for the WNBA's future. Caitlin Clark is a litmus test in addition to being a superb player. Her situation is exposing every weakness that the league has long overlooked. Outdated medical practices, unclear injury reporting, weak player-team relationships, and inadequate infrastructure for star development. Your dream is to join a major sports league. It is not possible to treat generational talent as a replaceable component. You need to create systems that can protect, support, and optimize them, not just rosters. Because if you don't, your best players' treatment will be seen by sponsors, overseas prospects, college stars, and the next generation. And right now, the optics are awful. Fans are better informed than before. The WNBA undervalued the intelligence and alertness of its own fan base. It is no longer the early 2000s. Fans read injury reports. On social media, they follow athletic trainers. They analyze kinesiology in Reddit posts. They find weak gaits, adjust mechanics, and make unsuccessful strides before the league's official Twitter account posts the final score. Gaslighting the audience is no longer an option. If Caitlin is ill, everyone knows. Additionally, they will regularly, loudly, and publicly criticize any mistreatment of women. This story is about Caitlin Clark, but it's really about the next chapter of the WNBA. Because how the league responds to this narrative, changes direction, and defends itself will determine whether or not they are ready for the attention that Clark helped bring to them. Restore confidence. This is a momentous occasion. Moreover, character is shaped by defining situations, not only revealed. Kindly provide your opinions in the space provided for comments. Subscribe and enable all notifications so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.